Hi there, thank you for joining me for today's lesson on fractions. We hear the term fractions a lot in math, and at first it can be kind of intimidating. So the point of today's lesson is to break it down and find out what fractions are, what do they look like visually, and how do we read and write fractions. Simply put, fractions are pieces or parts of things. So for example, if we have this circle here, this represents a whole. If we were to break it down into pieces or parts, each one of these pieces becomes a fraction of the whole. When we write about fractions in math, we use two numbers and a line. And we're going to take a look at what those numbers mean and where they come from. So when we think about a fraction, we have a bottom number. This is called our denominator. And that's how many parts that something is divided into. So, for example, going back to our circle, this is divided into a total of 4 different parts. The top number, or the numerator, is how many parts we have, or how many parts are shaded. And we draw a line over it. So, in this case, we have 4 parts, and 4 parts are shaded. So we have 4 over 4. One simple trick that I like to use in order to remember how to write a fraction is part over the whole. So let's take a look at another similar example and let's try writing some fractions. So we have a circle and it's divided into 4 parts. And if we want to find out the number of, or the fraction of the circle that's shaded, we take a look at how many parts are shaded. So we have 1, 2, 3. So our whole is 4 because there are 4 pieces, and the number of parts that are shaded are 3. So 3 over 4, or 3/4 of our circle, is shaded. Now let's take a look at the number or the fraction of our circle that is unshaded. So again, we have 4 parts, that's the whole, and only one of those parts is unshaded. So 1 over 4, or 1/4 of our circle, is not shaded. Let's take a look at a different example other than a circle when we're looking at fractions. We have this rectangle here, and if we were to find out what fraction of the rectangle is shaded, we would do the same thing. We find out how many parts are in our whole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'd record that number down bottom. That's our denominator. And then we take a look at how many parts are shaded. So we have 1, 2, and 3 parts are shaded. So 3/5 of our rectangle is shaded. Now, something important to remember about fractions is that the parts must be equal size in order for fractions to work. So fractions can be done when we have something that we're dividing things into, but it can also be used with whole objects. So let's say, for example, if you had 5 pets and you want to find out what fraction of your pets are dogs, you take the same thing, part over the whole. So in this case, our whole is 5 because that's the number of pets we have, and 3 is the number of dogs. So 3/5 of the pets are dogs. Then let's say you wanted to find out what fraction of these pets are cats. Again, we take our whole, which is 5, and then we count the number that are cats. So that's our part, 1, 2. So 2/5 of the animals here are cats. Let's review some important things we learned today about fractions. The first thing is that fractions are pieces or parts of a whole. The second important thing about fractions is that when dealing with fractions, all parts must be equal, so equal in size, like this. And finally, when we write fractions, we use 2 numbers and a line. The top number, or numerator, is the number of pieces we have over the denominator, which is the total number of pieces in all. Thank you for joining me for this lesson, and please tune in again to learn more about fractions.